What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here, and
Me. It's me.
my 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 co-host Laurel here with your daily fourth stimulus check update, as well as what's going on in the world today. And Laurel, what is going on in the world today?
The verdict is in.
Yeah.
Very tense moment.
Laura, I think Laura was nervous all
I
day.
was so nervous. Well, as soon as I saw that the verdict was in, I was like, oh, man.
All right, here we go. So yeah, let me know your initial thoughts. My initial thoughts were, I can't believe that he didn't have any reaction at all.
Stone-faced.
I mean,
You would think it's human nature for him to, like, hang his head or, something.
I mean, if that was me up there and they basically just sentenced me to life in prison, I would be instantly crying and just
That's
like
because
your
you're a
life
good
is over.
person. It makes you wonder
But not.
if...
But I mean, even if you're not a good person, I mean, let's put that aside.
I mean,
You're
maybe
gonna
he's
spend.
maybe he's sick. You know how, like, if he has, like, sociopathic tendencies?
I mean, he was nothing.
Maybe he has
I mean,
in inability to show
put it this way. Put it this
emotion.
way. You just got sentenced to life in
Oh,
prison.
I know.
Life in prison.
The only other thing I think could possibly be going through his mind is he thinks that there's going to be some way that he's going to get off. Mistrial, or they're going to fight it, or whatever.
I mean,
because if in his mind that there's no way that he's guilty.
I think mistrial's out because he can appeal, but if they mistrial and appeal, you're still guilty. Like you know what I'm saying?
Well, maybe,
I mean,
maybe that's what he thinks, that he's gonna be able to wiggle out of it somehow. That, or he's just
I mean, once you're
incapable of showing any kind of emotion like that, which would go along with his ability to do what he did for 9.5 minutes and have no response.
I had a hard time holding back tears because it was so tense leading up to that moment.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I remember they're walking in and they showed. I'm like, they're going right to the front. I'm like, they're going to it already. Like, I'm not ready for this, right? I'm not ready for this. Like,
yeah. No, but I think the right thing was done. I mean, I understand that George Floyd was resisting and whatever. But I mean, no matter what the amount of resistance.
Well, resisting doesn't mean you can be killed.
Yeah.
Because resisting goes on every day in the entire country.
What he did was excessive. Way, way excessive. Not to mention that it was over a crime of a possible forfeiture of $20. So all this over $20.
I think the thing that really kind of drove me, or I don't even know the word for it, bothered me the most is we were watching it on TV earlier and they showed the last few minutes and he wasn't alive anymore and the guy's still kneeling on his neck, and then the paramedics come and there was a point where the other officer, what did he say?
That there's no pulse. I'm not finding a pulse. There's no pulse. So it was audibly said to Derek Chauvin by one of his other officers that there was no pulse.
And you know what he did? He continued to stay on the guy. Now here, let's that's why I think maybe you're right. Because here's the thing. Let's just say, because I like to look at this as a realist point of view. Let's just say I'm a police officer. Okay, and you're allowed to use that neck.
Well, let's say you are, and you're kneeling on the guy, and the guy's saying,
and then all of a sudden,
"Please help me, mama, help me! I can't breathe."
Oh yeah,
mama,
for sure.
Mama. You would reposition him in some way where he was still restrained, but able to breathe.
And then you got to factor in that they knew each other.
And then the bystanders are yelling.
Yeah, and they're like, "He's unconscious, bro." And then the officer says, "There's no pulse." Now, let's just say that it's an accident up until a point. Let's just say, okay, let's just go with that theory.
Let's go right into CPR.
But if someone tells you no pulse, you don't just sit there.
You know that they're trained in CPR. Why didn't he do CPR? Why didn't any of the other cops around do CPR?
But he just sat there with his knee on his neck still.
No, it was not good.
So you're like, hey, there's no pulse.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm kneeling on the guy, for example, and I just stay there and keep doing it.
If I heard no pulse, I'd be like, hey, EMS person.
And then the paramedics come like a minute or two later, and he stays on him. He stays on him. And then finally you see the paramedic tell him to get off.
Yeah.
And only then does he get off, and they roll him onto the stretcher. And it's like,
why not do CPR then?
Yeah, and then
why not do CPR in the ambulance?
That really irks me too. And I don't think that they're in cahoots or whatever, but I think it really weird that, and again, I'm going to say the famous words of the defense attorney. I'm not blaming paramedics, because I don't think they're to blame. No. But I think it's a very weird thing. Why don't you do CPR right there? Why don't you?
You don't have to be in a hospital to do CPR. You can do CPR anywhere.
Or I seen that they were possibly concerned about the crowd, so they put him into the ambulance right away.
Yeah, and then once you're in the ambulance, then you can
why not start CPR there?
Yeah, provide life-saving measures. Do the paddles. Do the CPR.
Close the door, start CPR. Or close the door and drive away and start CPR. Apparently, they didn't start CPR for like 7 to 10 minutes after they got there.
Sure hope I don't ever have to get a ride from those EMS.
That's crazy. I mean, when you think about like someone loses oxygen to their brain, I think you only had like 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah, before your brain did.
They waited 7 to 10 minutes.
That's what happened with DMX. He had no oxygen for like half hour, and that's why he was a vegetable.
And you got to think that, like, why did that happen? Why did the paramedic thing happen?
I don't know. I don't understand it. It's bizarre. I don't know. There could be some negligence there as well.
And come on, think you're a paramedic. You roll this guy in. He has no pulse. Maybe you don't even know that at this point, okay? But you roll this guy in. I mean, let's just say they didn't check his pulse yet.
No, but they would have radioed it.
Okay, but let's just give him the benefit of the doubt and say that didn't happen. You're rolling an unconscious guy onto a stretcher.
What is your first thing you do? Check your pulse.
And then what? Then we wait 10 minutes?
No, let's wait till we get there. Like what?
How does this happen in the world today?
It doesn't make sense.
How does this? That drives me absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, I know.
As if the first part wasn't bad enough.
I know. It was just a storm of issues.
We possibly had a chance to still save him.
Yeah.
And they wait 7 to 10 minutes to do CPR. I am just beside myself. I don't even know what to say. How does that happen in the world today?
Doesn't make sense. I just hope for the family's sake that we can kind of close this chapter and they can stop having to see it in the news every day and on Facebook every day and just start to move on, grieve and move on. Because it has to suck reliving that over and over. I mean, they played that footage on TV.
That's something you never get over, really.
I know, but it would be helpful to not have to see it every day.
I think that this is this decade's
Rodney King.
Or Rodney King or O.J. Simpson.
Oh, yeah. O.J.
Because it was such a big trial.
It was.
And you were talking about how when the O.J. verdict came out, that there were riots.
There were.
And there
were people who was mad that he didn't get convicted. There was people that were happy that he didn't get convicted. It was a huge thing in the streets.
I know, and that's one of the things where like you could have had riots either way, whether he was guilty or not guilty. And I think a lot of people still question if OJ
was guilty.
I think he lost a civil trial.
He did.
And it took all his money.
He owes money and he doesn't have any money to pay them.
Yeah, and then he went to prison later on for that armed robbery of his memorabilia, which just kind of shows the path that's a different issue. But yeah, I mean, and then we have all these gatherings. Like, do you think there's going to be riots now that they did a guilty?
No, I think that it's mostly going to be like a celebration-ish.
I know that's not the right word, but
yeah.
I don't know if there's a word, maybe a grieving. So let's hope that we don't continue to see any more damage from this situation. Yeah. Let's hope that this, but like I said, that this could be a major issue for our country today, and hopefully there's some reform that comes out of this.
Yeah.
I was watching some of the commentators on the TV talk about how police nowadays, they have cameras on them, and they've been moving towards you can't, and each state's different, but you can't turn off the cameras at all. You can't turn them off. And I think that that's a very good thing, because imagine what this trial would have been like without no cameras.
I know.
Imagine what that would have been like without no camera footage. And remember back in the day, not too long ago, police used to tell you to stop filming them and put your phone away, and they would want to take your filming devices and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure, I hope that we're past that. But you got to think that's only nothing but good for the country, because and I'm pretty much pro police. Like I feel that you really need police in our life, but I also feel like it's a good thing that they're on camera, because if I'm on camera, I'm going to be on my best behavior.
Well, in this case, is going to set a precedent that if you do something that's excessive or unacceptable, you will be in trouble.
Nobody's above the law.
Yeah, no one's above the law.
Nobody's above the law. I like that.
And unfortunately, there's good people and bad people in every walk of life. So you can't say, oh, all cops are bad, all this are bad, all this kind of people are bad. You can't generalize like that. And unfortunately, he was just one of the bad seeds.
Let me know your thoughts. This could be the trial of the decade. Let me know your thoughts on the results. We've seen a poll before it happened, and it was something like near 50% of people thought that he would be found guilty. It was like 30% weren't sure.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't know enough about the case. And 20% of people thought that he shouldn't be found guilty, that he should be found innocent.
And then now he has to, if he even has a conscience, worry about what's going to happen to him in jail.
Well, I don't even think that's a conscience. That's just
no, but
that's survival instinct.
Yeah. But if he's so mentally deluded that he thinks he's above all of this, he's not going to think anybody in prison's going to be able to touch him. You know, sometimes people are.
I don't have a good feeling for him in prison. I'll just say that right now.
No. And I'm sure they're probably going to have to put him in solitary.
Forever?
I don't know. I don't know how
do they do that? Do they do that? Do they put? Let me know if they put people in solitary forever? And you know what happens is they get a hold of them one time.
Yeah, I know.
And
they find them when they're in the bathroom or out on recess or at the lunchroom.
Yeah, that's.
And they get them.
I also find that sad. I don't know if that some people would say that's justice served, but I don't think
some people think eye for an eye and all that. It's a difficult argument.
All right, so let's move on to stimulus, the fourth stimulus round.
Do you think there'll be a check?
I've been thinking about this a lot. And everything I know, everything I research, the pros and the cons, and I really do, honest to God's truth, I really do think there will be at least a fourth stimulus check. I really feel with the congressional setting, is that the right word, congressional setting?
I don't know where you're going with this. So.
That the Democrats are going to pass at least one more stimulus check. And, if the Republicans were in charge, I mean, they passed 5 packages. They passed 2 checks. So now they just don't want to vote for anything out of Biden. And whether or not that's right or not is irrelevant, because it is what it is now. But I think that the Democrats are going to pass at least one more stimulus check. I think there's a lot of push for the monthly stimulus checks. I'd like to see that continue happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I think at the end of the day that we will see at least one more stimulus check. And my personal thoughts is it will be at the minimum $1,400. I think that anything could happen.
Mm-hmm.
I think it could be a smaller check or a larger check, or we could get the monthly stimulus checks. And the only reason I think we've seen a smaller stimulus check in the second package was because they took that money away from the states and cities, and it just happened to equal $600.
Well, and they had to get the Republicans on board too.
I remember, they wanted that package to be less than $1 trillion.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there'll be at least one more stimulus check. I think they're probably going to add the Medicare benefits in here, where they add in basically free vision, hearing, and dental, hearing aids. We'll have to see all the details of how all that comes out. I think they're going to add that in there. I think they'll consider that part of the human infrastructure. I think they'll probably lower the age a little bit to 60 or 55. Maybe if I'm just going with the most compromised route, I'll go with 60. But I think that'll be a huge benefit to a lot of our seniors.
Absolutely.
And the problem is I really feel like we need the $200 Social Security increase, But right now, they're just not talking about it.
Nothing about it. Absolutely no news about
I
it.
have Laurel check every day.
They're too focused on all these other things like Medicare and student debt relief and the infrastructure package.
And I mentioned this in another video that really, if we do get monthly stimulus checks, even if it's 1,000, remember they're talking about two different plans, one for 2,000 a month and one for 1,000 a month. And remember, the Democrats can pass this package all on their own. That's probably what will happen. So it's not inconceivable to think that they can't do that. I mean, Canada has still been getting $2,000 per month. In fact, we just seen an article that I'll cover here in an upcoming episode on how they're considering making their $2,000 per month permanent, or at least for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
So it's not unconceivable to think that is unconceivable the right inconceivable the right word to think that they can't do monthly stimulus checks. Now, let's be honest. If Mitch McConnell was in charge of the Senate,
you best forget that.
Then we'd be lucky to get a fourth stimulus check. I think it still could happen, but I think we'd be lucky to get a fourth stimulus check. I think it's drastically different, and it's not that I'm Republican or Democrat. I'm just being real here. This is the reality of things.
Yep.
I think that the Democrats are going to pass at least one more stimulus check. And I think even if they pass just a single stimulus check after this, there's a very real possibility. Let me see here. That'll be 4. Yeah. There'll be a very real possibility that there could be another one before his year's end.
It depends on how this pandemic continues and how it goes away or does or doesn't.
When you just look at the Democratic views on stimulus checks and everything stimulus related, they're is the right word givers? They're givers.
Mm-hmm.
Where Republicans right now, their current atmosphere is, we're worried about the fiscal debt. We're worried about the debt. We're worried about spending.
They're penny pinchers.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's fair to say. Let me know if you think that's fair to say. Yeah. I think the current atmosphere is that Republicans are worried about the fiscal debt. They're worried about the spending. And Democrats are like, hey, we need to help people out right now.
Take care of the people for the people.
I mean, we see countless interviews of Bernie Sanders, even President Biden, AOC, Elizabeth Warren, all these top Democrats that are in charge. And what do they say? We want to help people. We want to bring people out of poverty. We want to help people with children. We want to increase SNAP benefits, WIC benefits. We want to forgive student loan debt.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, I just believe what I actually see and what the proposals I see in the past history. And the past history is they've already passed 6 stimulus packages, okay? 3 of them had checks. Literally the first thing the Democrats did when Biden came in office and they took over the Senate, the first bill they passed was the 3rd stimulus check package. Now, yeah, it took a little bit of time. I know that everybody wants them to just pass them instantly, but I think if you've been following the channel, you know that that's not really how government works.
Yeah, they're a snail.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, it depends. It's weird. It's like once everything lines up, then they can pass it pretty quickly. Like I'll go back to the 2nd stimulus check. Like once they found out that the Republicans were willing to do it, and then they seen that cry for the 2nd stimulus check, they literally took the money away from the states and cities. They put in the 2nd stimulus check. They wrote the bill the next day, and boom, they put it in the House, and then they passed it. They passed it in the House. And then it went right to the Senate, and boom, all that was done within a matter of a few days. But it took time to get to that point because they had to negotiate with the Republicans and they had to write the bill. And now it's like they only have to negotiate among themselves, although they're still trying to get Republican support on there. I think that might be a little bit of, well, let's just see. We don't want them to say that we didn't try. We didn't ask them. I don't think they're going to come to an agreement between the two. No. I think that the Republicans' proposal...
There's too much of a divide between the parties just on a general level right now.
And I think that if Mitch McConnell was still in charge of the Senate, I think we could probably get an infrastructure package done and maybe get a 4th stimulus check done. But it'd be much, much smaller proportions. We're talking about like an infrastructure package of probably around $1 trillion. I mean, Republicans, their counter proposals for $800 billion. So I think it'd be around they always seem to want to stay under $1 trillion. So that's like their magic number. Except for the first package, which was unprecedented. That was $2.2 trillion. So I think we'd probably see an infrastructure package of $1 trillion. And then we could maybe see another stimulus check, but it'd probably be even more down the road.
Yeah, so I guess we'll have to see what unfolds.
So we'll keep you up to date on everything with stimulus, the fourth round, student loan debt forgiveness, Social Security and Medicare increases, and everything on the horizon. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below. It's completely free to do so. We don't charge anything. We don't want you to join a membership or anything like that. All subscribing does is make it so you're more likely to see the videos. If you want to be really likely to see the videos, click the bell icon after subscribing to all notifications so you get reminder notifications for the first 3 videos of the day. We have 4 videos per day. And what time are they, Laura?
10 a.m., 3 p.m., 8 p.m., and 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
See, maybe I'll have to get you to come in and do my exit out. Every day. You can say that 4 times a day.
I see.
So yeah, don't miss an episode because we talk about different things in different videos. I will keep you up to date on everything. You can click this top video over here to watch my newest stimulus check video next. And this video teaches you about how starting your own business on the Amazon FBA program, where we have had dozens of people replace their 9-to-5 income selling products on Amazon. Click on one of those videos next. Thanks, guys, and we will see you in the next video.
Bye-bye.